good evening, and welcome everyone to another episode of Suffered in Silence. Turn the pain into power. It's so good to have you on, everyone. Maya, how are you?
Hi, hello, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Hello, world. Good afternoon in the Philippines and wherever you are in this world. Good morning, Mr. B. I know it's too early for you there. Yes, it's good to see you, everybody, and welcome to our first special guest, our clinical psychologist, Dr. Evangeline Castro. Yes, and welcome to this podcast. And how's everybody, Harlene? And yeah.
Hi, I'm good. I'm good here in the Philippines. How are you, Mom Castro and Doc Castro? I'm so excited to listen to your advices and to your stories and whatnot.
Well, it's not always new for me because I've been guesting, but then still I am still also learning and trying to be confident in the way I deliver my of course my speech or my lecture, if I may call it.
Sure. Here on Free Talk with Mr. B, we free talk, so we're free to call it anything. And the whole idea is just to do it. And so it's really a welcoming sign to have everyone here at different locations around the world, at different times in the world, to try to give back, as it were, to the global community. And the subject is so pertinent: suffered in silence, turn the pain into power. You know, last week we were talking about our childhood, and it was a very wonderful session on our childhood. And we can speak about it for a long time. So that's why we brought it back into this week and decided, Dr. Castro, to bring you on, because everything, I feel convinced that everything that happens in our childhood impacts our life and our complete life. And we just want you to help us and to validate some of what we're thinking, or to straighten out our thinking on what does it really mean when you suffer as a child a traumatic event and a traumatic experience. We saw last week that is still with Maya, and it's still with us, all of the little ones we have. So maybe you can tell us, why does it stay with us so long?
Oh yeah. I've been working in a mental hospital in a psychiatric facility for 41 years. And I am also handling the forensic cases. And most of them are rape cases. So when you say impact, I just first wanted to explain what psychological trauma is. So psychological trauma is a type of damage to the brain that occurs as a result of a severely distressing event. So the trauma is often the result of an overwhelming amount of stress that exceeds one's ability to cope or integrate the emotions involved with that experience, like rape cases, sexually abuse, like violence, abuse, and all the sort of abuses.
I see.
Yeah. So a psychological or emotional trauma is a damage or injury to the psyche, from mind, body, and soul after living through an extremely frightening or distressing event, and may result in challenges in functioning or coping normally after the event. So it has a short and long term, but I would rather go on the long-term effects of trauma, or we call it the aftermath of trauma. So one, after the trauma, they'll experience anxiety. So,
right.
I'm sorry. So anxiety, so meaning to say that, well, everyone worries every time, and anxiety, disorder traps in flight or fight mood. So every time they have that experience of fear, anxiousness, and of course, the pain of being abused. right? You are a victim of that. So you can pretty well relate to what I'm telling, what I'm saying right now. So you all also re-experience, or there is always a flashback of what had happened to you or what had happened to the victim. So there's flashback, memories, and if there are triggers of events, usually the flashback will come in. And when it comes, it's like as if it's really the same before. It will always be relived, the memories, the events, the traumatic events. And after that, there will always be behavioral changes. What do I mean by behavioral changes? There's always that you can always observe the victim having some of them, they go into masturbation. Some of them go into depression. Some of them go into self-harm. And some of them go into suicide attempts several times. And people around them, they just cannot understand how that excruciating pain slowly bringing them down the drain. Everything. So they will experience difficulty falling asleep, poor focus, poor concentration. And there are also health issues. What are those health issues? They will have headache. They will have gastritis. And some sorts, and some illnesses that they cannot explain. But we, the psychologists, we can always explain, we can always explore all this emotional, psychological, mental, and a physical. So there's also some cognitive dysfunction. When you say cognitive dysfunction, they have difficulty understanding and expressing their feelings.
Correct.
So yes.
So,
And then
no, I'm saying Maya is nodding and agreeing. So tell us, what are you agreeing to or nodding about? Let's say.
Yes, I agree what the Dr. Castro said, because for the last few years back, way back in my life, I was having a difficulty concentrating for especially focusing into studying when I was at school. And I was always love education, to go to school, but I was distracting all those bad memories. And also the concentration of learning process about life, it was biggest distracting, because sometimes I always ask myself, or I am always questioning myself, or even God, is there any God, why it happened to me, this bad journey in my life way back many years ago. And also I agree what Dr. said, that there is we cannot focus, because sometimes the memories keep flashing into my brain. Yeah.
Right. And now this happens for years, and Dr. Castro, I'll come back to you. Now, Hana, you met Maya so long after. What did you observe in her behavioral pattern, you think?
When I met Ate Marieta, I believe during that time she already as a strong person, she already what do you call, she already conquered the mountain, because we met at the age of 42, I think, Ate Marieta. and it
Yeah.
happened. The rape
Okay.
happened for 7.5 years old. So when I met her, she's so strong, but sometimes she changes, she changes her attitude in terms of, let's say, triggers when we talk about like boys or men, about love stories. So I can still sense her triggers.
Okay,
So
and
that's how, but
that's an interesting word. So now, Dr. Castro, these triggers, it's in all of us humans, right? Something trigger our emotions, our sensitivity. Tell us about it. Let me not say.
Okay.
These triggers.
These triggers usually is connected with their experiences. Like, for example, if they're gonna talk about men, so either Marieta will have this kind of reaction that she feels dirty of herself because of what had happened in the past. And other victims would also feel like they hate men haters. These are two kinds of, I would say, impact or result when there is psychological trauma after their rape case or rape event. Either a child would become promiscuous, and the other one is a child would become frigid in their sexual relationship.
Okay, and so it can cause many different behaviors. I mean, we're keeping it serious because the reason why we wanted to go over childhood again is the fact that something impacted a child, and even 40 years later, it still have a child inside of us that's being impacted and potentially suffering in silence. And so I can see why it was important, Maya, to turn the pain into power. Now, Dr. Castro, and I'm going to ask you this question, but I wanted to address someone who's on. Anyone know who is Chone Baldoza?
Sharon Baldoza is the MOP secretary.
Oh, and say hi.
Yes, you just want to listen to us.
Yes, and so hi, welcome. We'd like our listeners to know that she's listening. So welcome.
Okay.
The point I'm making then with us is when we look at childhood, we want to prevent. Prevention is doing things to stop it from happening before it ever happens, right? Prevention, and it's a mission vision of MOP, and so from a childhood perspective, the suffering, we want to turn our pain into power. That's easy to do as an adult, but it's very hard to do as a child. And so suffering in silence is where we're going to try to eliminate a suffering in silence. What needs to happen with children very early, maybe from a parent perspective to a child, what needs to happen very early if anything happens to a child, or let's add in prevention?
First, you're asking me, is it?
Yeah, you're the subject matter expert with us today.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You have to understand that all effects of trauma can take place either over a short period of time or over a course of weeks or even years. Any effects of trauma should be addressed immediately to prevent permanence.
Okay,
so the sooner the trauma is addressed, the better chance a victim has of recovering successfully and fully.
Right. See, this is our learning point right here. This is our learning point that parents need to observe their children. You should know the condition of your children. Then if a child is telling you or hinting to you by nonverbal or verbal signs, you should listen to your child, right? Just like we listen to our bodies. And that's where, Dr. Castro, if we address it early, we can save a child too, right? If you address it very early, you can save someone from ruining their whole life and suffering in silence. Wouldn't that be correct?
Yeah, but you have also to understand, Mr. B, that there are parents who doesn't listen to their children, especially if the perpetrator is a stepfather. or they just brush it under the rug. And then the more the child becomes disturbed because she has no support system. The person that she looks up as a support system where she trusted much because that person has authority, but they failed. So it's so painful to be disappointed and frustrated.
In addition to what happened to you, you get a second punishment, as it were. You know, a second set of trauma, or trauma on top of trauma. And that's the discomfort. And that's like I said, Maya, that's what we need to keep bringing out. And so what are ways of getting it, getting this awareness? Because that was the next thing is in the mission statement, awareness, right? That's why we come on these
Very
programs.
Important.
You know?
Yes.
And so Maya, the organization, let's go back to that mission and vision. What is the real awareness because you're trying to get it done? Let's see.
Yes. At the moment, we're working on the awareness that we're working on the different strategy. Like we are starting giving an information to the barangay council or to the different communities in Davao City. So we give them an information drive, what is the MOP doing, or what our mission are. So the awareness that we give it to them, like how to spot the sign that the children has been abused, or how to spot the sign of grooming process, because the perpetrator are very good on grooming. Like first they groom the parents, second they groom the child or the girl, so that they're ano ba yung tawag nito, yung trust, yes, makuha ang loob ng bata at parents para mag-trust sila nitong perpetrator. So they have to know that, like, you know, targeting the stage, you know, like friendship forming states, like all those that loving relationship states and abusive relationship states. So we must do that in first in the community, the parents. Yeah, we must do that so that at the beginning we will know that this child that has been abused. I mean, sometimes the relatives or friends, like, they just ignore this child that has, you know, being, you know, sometimes when I saw a child being quiet at the corner, or just, you know, yung umiyak kaagad, then we must move, or we must do something, like what I said always, that we must ask this child, are you okay? This word is very important to them, because since that I stay in the Philippines for nearly a year, it's not much parents asking for their children, like, are you okay? Or, you know, sometimes a child being quiet at the corner, and they must say, oh, what are you doing there? Are you okay? There's something wrong. That we must do that. Parents must always do that into their children. Yeah. Because sometimes children cannot express what's been happening to them, because sometimes the parents is always nagagalit, angry, especially their teenager. Okay, this is what I observed in Philippines. A teenager, sometimes late silang umuwi, they came back home late, or they come back home with the friends, and the parents like something like this. Where have you been? Right. And what are you doing? And this like that. No, it's not like that. Oh, how are you? Are you? You know, like in British style, when their child or teenager came back home, hi, how are you? Did you have a good time? Or this and that. We must do that some you know, in the Philippines, because yeah, so in the Philippines it's different. But if we teach them how to do it, they will learn, I think.
Like building trust. But Hana, when you and I were there, we saw the barangay if I'm saying it correctly, did something. I think,
Yes.
did he come and report what happened in the community to Ate Maya?
Barangay, what, Manuel Janga?
Manuel
Okay,
Janga.
yeah. Emmanuel Janga. Didn't he come and tell her something happened in the community?
Well, the barangay captain, I think there were instances like rape. There were rapes in the place where Ate Mayet's MOP is being built. So
Okay.
yeah, there were reports from the barangay captains that is being passed to the MOP. So yes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
barangay because the barangay captain there is so active, so participate, as you can really see that he was there when we celebrated
Right.
our 5-year anniversary. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And I think and Dr. Castro, I think that's empowering because if some of the leaders in the community are involved, do you think the parents will feel a little more secure about speaking, and maybe even the child will feel that if they know even the barangay captain is involved, that they may speak up? What makes them feel more comfortable to speak up? The children.
The children would be comfortable to speak if the support system from the family itself is very apparent.
Yeah, and I know family is very fundamental, but if they don't see it completely, what are the second sources of family? Because that's the broader family in the village. We keep saying it takes a village to raise a child, but the child needs to feel sure that the village is there for them, right?
Yeah.
Well, there are organizations, and there are also people who has the heart to help, especially the teachers. I have all this experience in my 41 years in clinical practice and 44 years in my private practice, that usually the children who cannot speak, they cannot speak to their parents, directly to their mother or any member of the family. They usually speak to their teachers.
Teachers, yeah.
Because they find trust, and they're quite confident that these teachers would listen and would help them.
Right. So on this podcast, we want to say that we want to give a shout out and to all the teachers. I met quite a few in the schools there at your school, and it's such an honor to meet them. At the same time, we want to say definitely that it's a big job to listen to all their children too, and to observe the different behaviors that they have. So parents, it's their parents' responsibility. And as it branches out into the community, in the schools from 3-year-olds to 4-year-olds to 5-year-olds go to school, the teachers can see their behavioral patterns and try to listen. Yeah.
True.
It's true because like the teacher is like a second mother to them, because they spend a lot of time, like 8 hours or all day with the teachers as well. We have these incidents in Turil. There's an elementary school that the children, after all this pandemic 2 years ago, they came back face-to-face to school. So we heard this incident a few months ago that there is 6 to 9 children has been sexually abused with a teacher. This is really, really, I don't think so. Why? Yeah, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking because we, like the parents also, sometimes the parents also are relying to the teachers that they will look after their children. But sometimes some teachers are they done
I can say it quite clearly. Sometimes the person in authority becomes the perpetrator. And that could be a teacher, it could be a police officer, it could be a great uncle or a strong family leader member. And they can become the perpetrator. And at first, the abuser, And at first, the child is looking up to them, and they disappoint the system by turning the system against the victim. And so those are the things we are definitely sure to call out, so that does not happen, and that does not happen at all. If you guys give me a minute, I need to do one thing, and This is going well, and I need to start a second one because I can't cut this conversation off at this time. Hold on a minute. Hello and welcome to part B of Free Talk with Mr. B. We were getting into a deep discussion with a clinical psychologist, Dr. Campos, on board. And Maya and Hana are host of Suffered in Silence, the Free Talk program with Mr. B. Suffered in Silence turned the pain into power. And we're turning some of that pain into power now so we can speak to our audiences in Davao, in Manoljanga, I think I say it right, and the rest of the Philippines and the world to let them know that childhood does not belong to everyone else, it belongs to a child. And we want to talk about how the child should experience a beautiful life and not suffer in silence and not be damaged for 40 years as they're trying to recover from childhood. So it's just so important to bring this subject out and to speak about it freely here in Free Talk. With that in mind, Dr. Campos, some of the things, well, let's see. You have children.
Yeah, I have 2 kids. They're already adults.
And mine's at 35 and 38, so they're very grown, and the grandkids are I think 11 and 15. And so, yes, you know, that was something very important. And I was talking to Hana one time and we said, oh yeah, we suffer in silence all of our own different ways. Yeah. Not like Maya getting abused, but we all have these sufferings. But let's talk about children. Children should have a fun life, correct? I don't think anyone will disagree.
Absolutely correct.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah. Yeah, like Hana, when we were over, I think we either picked you up or dropped you off. It was 2 children. They were your nieces and nephews?
Yes, my nieces and nephews. So I'm 35. No, I'm turning 35 next year. I'm single. I don't have any children, but I feels that I already have children because I have like 8 total of 8 nieces and nephews.
And they were crying for you because they say, "Oh, you're leaving. Why are you leaving them home?"
Yeah, the one is 1 year old and a month, and then the other one is 3 years old. So normally, because we have this close connection, I'm sweet child and I love children. So before I leave, usually I give him a hug and a kiss. And when we parted, that's when they cry. I think it's because of the attachment of.
And the point is, I bring it up because it's beautiful. And Maya, you're being a mom to your entire Manoljanga area, and you're trying to help them by being so brave to tell your story and to do this prevention work. So that in itself, you want kids to have something that you didn't
have. Yes, I always wanted to be a mother, and I tried to be a mother 3 times. So I lost my pregnancy 3 times. So it was really hard to accept that. Well, I'm 46 and I don't know if I will have have my own child. I always wanted to be a mother, but with 9 siblings, I have 11 of us, but 2 died. My elder brother and my young sister many years ago. My elder brother died 9 or 10 years ago. And I have 9 siblings, and they are all married, and they have, apart from my my sister, younger sister, unmarried. And I have younger sister that she has 4 boys and 3 boys and 1 girl. And my sister, another sister, have 4 girls, and another brother have a boy and a girl, and another brother had a boy and a girl, 2 girl and boy. So I have like all total 16 nephew and nieces. So I have a big family, of course. And way back many years ago, I always say to my sister or to my brother that this is the proper way to bring up the child, okay? And then because I've learned a lot here in the United Kingdom, to look after the children, not my own, but I've been looking after children from newborn baby, newborn to 2 years old, 2 years old to 6 years old, 6 years to 9, 9 to 14 or 16. So it's different stages of bringing up the child, of course. So they must learn how to look after their children, because they have different states of attitude and behavior. So yeah, so for me, having 16 nephew and nieces, I want them from the heart that what I have encountered or what's been happening for me when I was a child, I don't want it will happen to them. Not only for my nephews, for everybody, for every children anywhere in this world. That you know, if we do more to protect the children, and I think we can save more children around, not only in the community, nationally or internationally.
Right. And Dr. Castro, what for our children? I mean, you've raised yours and you know exactly what you would like them to be like. Could you tell us about them, and some things we can do to bring more awareness and prevention? What kind of
First and
activities we
foremost,
can get our children into?
First and foremost, you have to have, of course, you have to connect with them. Connection is very important. You have to connect, you have the time, you have the ears, you have the heart and the mind to understand and heart to love them, of course. You have to demonstrate your love for them. And you should also be, you have to set rules at home. Since it is very, very important, home is like an institution. So if they got mistake or they go against your rule, you also have something to remind them that this is our house policy and you are aware of this. So you have to pay the consequences. So I usually do punishment and reward. If you do good, even to my grandchildren, if you do good, so you have a reward. But if you do bad things, you disobey the rules, you break the rules, so you have to pay the consequences. But but I always, after that, I always talk to them, explain to them why is it.
Which makes sense, right?
Yeah, why I am angry, why I have to, why they have to pay the consequences. And I always assure them that even if I do that, I love you and you'll always be part of me. I will always support you. Do not be ashamed to tell me honestly, because honesty for me is the best policy. And I will assure them that whatever happens, I will always be there to understand. I will always be there to stand by their side, and they will never be taken for granted. I always valued them, even when they're already grown up. So they take me as their best friend. We can always discuss things under the heat of the sun, anything.
And Hana, did you have to discipline your niece and nephews?
Yes, of course, especially in terms of gadget, that they don't eat if they don't have cell phones. And sometimes, even if I'm not a parent, I really talk to them that you can have it after you eat. But still, there's difference between me and their parents. So sometimes they listen more to their parents, and sometimes they listen more to me. So really, it depends upon the situation of what they're doing. So I really have to discipline them. But mostly, I'm more into the sweet side as an aunt. Maybe in the future, if I have my own children, I can fully understand how to be really strict to your own children. But because I'm aunt,
there is
so
I mean, since I have some, I use the word balance, and we need to be balanced, and it's hard to find a balance. But you brought up something that's interesting, because if you're the sweet auntie, the really nice one, the kids might run to you when faced with discipline. And so the point I'm wondering now, how do we balance it out? If a child ran to a strong uncle to hide behind them because mother or father was going to discipline them, then they're trusting that uncle.
Yeah. Can I
And
answer that?
yes, please, because I know where you might be going with Tommy.
Yeah, because this is really good. Because yes, me as an auntie to the 16 nephews and nieces, I have a different brought up with them because well, when they're little, I always before when they're little, I brought a lot of few things for them as a present, you know, in the boxes and everything. But I always give them equal, you know. If I have a present for this person, and this person has to be, everybody has a present. And sometimes one nephew asking for, can you buy me these things, which is more expensive? And I don't want to buy that for him or for her, because how about those 15 nephews and nieces that I
Right.
or yes, then my another niece, it happened to me the last few months when I was in the Philippines. And she when she has a problem with her parents, because her parents has a different discipline to her daughter, and her daughter is teenager, and sometimes she opened up her problem to me. She never opened to her parents her problem because of she feels jealous to her brother, younger brother, because when she was young, she said that I feel like I am out of the way because of my brother. Before, when I was young or a little girl, they always I'm their favorite. And why they just kind of ignoring me now because I'm growing up, and they just focusing into my brother. And I said, no, darling, it's not like that. It's not like that. It's just this, your parents is busy, or maybe, you know, sometimes you have to talk to her, you know, from the heart. And then she always say to me that there's something that I need to tell them, but I am scared if they will shout me or something. So I am slowly telling her that this is you're gonna do, this is you're gonna do. Then I heard from her mother saying that when they are fighting together or argue, she said to her mother that my auntie, Tita Maya is better than you, which is when I heard that, no, I said, no, I am your auntie. I will never be same shoes with your mother. Your mother is your mother who brought up you in this world, who gave you life in this world. For me, I am just the second, you know, the second, you know, like yung hagdanan, second step of you. If you cannot talk to your parents, your mother, I am there for you, but I cannot step your mother rules, you know, like I cannot go into your mother's shoes. Your mother is your mother.
Right.
And I want to hear that again. So I said to her, I don't want to hear that again. That I heard this from your mom that Tita Maya is better than you. Tita Maya is better than you. And I feel so bad because, you know, and I said to her that next time, whatever problem is, you can talk to me, you can talk to your mother. So that the relationship between mother and a daughter or a children, they will get closer.
Right.
Yes.
So that brings a question, Dr. Castro. What responsibility does from a child psychology perspective, what responsibility does the listener, whether it's the pastor, the teacher, the auntie, or otherwise, have towards the parents to share the information with the parents?
All right. you have to as a mother and psychologist.
Right.
So we always have to set boundaries. We should know our limits, our boundaries.
Mhm.
So the parents has always the right for the children. Do not talk to the child, but talk to the parents.
Mhm.
Okay. So like you and the parents should have a consistent discipline. Do not overstep the authority of the parents. You have to respect boundaries.
Yeah.
Because I
Very important.
I know the human nature, and once again, I know the human nature that we always feel we're going to lose that relationship, or they're not going to trust us anymore, or they're not going to come back. But you were going to explain the reason because, tell me.
Yeah, because your children, they're manipulative. You have to understand that one. So if you are trying to look like the parents are the ogre and you are the hero, so do not ever do that.
Right.
So you have to set borders. Your jurisdiction. So that is very important. So talk to the parents, not to the child.
Yeah, boundaries.
Because you're gonna, I mean, Hana, you hear, as a nice auntie, you hear some information. Maybe, do you ever ask the kid, did you tell mom? Did you tell your mom?
Mom, my mom?
No,
I mean,
because if a child, let's say I'm one of your cousins, a little kid, and I'm telling you something, do you ask them, did you tell your mom?
Normally, my nephews are like 3 years old, so it's not like you tell their mom. What I experience with them is that sometimes I just joke, okay, who do you look like? Do you look like me or do you look like your mom? And then I will tell them, you look like me. And then the child will first look to her mom and then said that, yes, I look up you. So what I'm trying to say, as young as they are, they already know who is the, like, who they respect, who is their they have their own decision.
Yes, and
even
it's true.
I'm trying, so even if I'm trying to, what do you call it in English? Ako silang ikuan ba, igulgulan? What do you call that?
I don't know.
Gulgulan. To be biased. So the words to be biased. Even if I wanted them to be biased with me, as like we're just kind of playing, it's just I was trying to like really ask them something like that. So they really know what to answer. And yes, that's just the experience I've got from my nieces. But in terms of that, they asking me if they tell something to me, and then they ask me, did you tell mom? I can't remember. I have that kind of conversations. Was what I've said. More into like lambing, you know. So
because raising my sons, they would ask mom something. Mom will say no. Then they will ask dad. And I would ask them, well, did you ask your mom? And so the whole idea was to make sure that they're not playing. The kids, they do that. They'll play one against each other. And so when someone is talking about something that happens to them, that's what I was asking the responsibility of the listener. If someone told me something very critical, I'm going to say, did you tell your mom? Did you tell your dad about this? And at this time, I have to put the parent hat on and say, we need to let your parents know, because this is not a friend relationship at this time. It's a responsibility when we would bring in the word awareness back. And so for awareness, we need to take the risk, even if the parents hate us, we need to take the risk of walking over and say, your child just told me this. And they are afraid because of the repercussions of what could happen if they told you. But this is so serious enough. I want you to let's talk about how you're going to address it, because your child just told me. I think the police has that responsibility. The pastor has that responsibility. The parent has, siblings, aunties, and uncles and teachers. And I think Dr. Castro, we're right. We should share, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and so it's part of the awareness cycle, and it's part of the prevention cycle. And we want the people in the community, everyone who is aware of something that happened that should not have happened, to if you see something, say something, right?
Yeah.
And correct. If you hear something, share it with the responsible person. That you saw. If you saw uncle wrongfully molesting someone in their family, you need to say something, because again, the child doesn't have a trust system. They don't have a what's the word you call it, Dr.
Courage.
Campos?
Courage. You have a courage, or
but it's when they're losing the trust of the parents or the people that they trust or the support system. Because children need support system for happiness and for sadnesses. And if you don't have a support system or a trust system, which is part of the support system, they will not tell you, they will not tell me, they will not tell anyone, and they will continue to suffer in silence. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to prevent them by making sure everyone is an advocate for sharing what they know and for observing the child, and for the teacher should say something seems wrong, the auntie should say something, to the uncle should say something seems wrong, and let's see if we can cheer the person up. The person could just be sad, or they could have been abused. We don't know. But we must take action, because we don't want children to suffer in silence. We don't want to always heal a victim. We want to prevent, so that a child could have a full life.
Happy life.
True.
A happy life. There's no need to be curing Maya at this age. You should have never had to. And if something did go wrong, you want to catch it at 7.5.
Yes.
Or 7 3/4, not at 17, not at 27, not at 37, because you're already ruining all those years.
Yes.
So I really appreciate everyone on. We were able to have what's called like 2 sessions. And when Conversations with our clinical psychologist is here with us, we don't stop. We keep going, because the information is concise, is clear, and we think it's needed around the world. So appreciate it so very much. Thank you all for being on.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us today.
And Miss Baldoza, thanks for listening in, and I hope you come on soon and join us.
Yes.
Okay. You'll have the next. Yes.
Yeah. It's an honor here to share my expertise, and looking forward.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And again, we're not doing this for show. We're trying to do it for MOP, for prevention, and we podcast so we can freely talk about these subjects. And we look forward to another episode next week from the book Suffered in Silence, Turn the Pain into Power, where we'll be on again as a team having this conversation. And again, you can get the book as soon. Amazon will be coming soon. And you can contact Maya here. You can contact Hana. You can contact myself, Mr. B, at freetalkwithmrb.com. And we'll direct you to where you can get a copy of this book, Suffered in Silence.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful day.
Right. Okay.